Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I need to open up about something really personal because I honestly don't know if I'm making the right decision, and maybe sharing it will help me, and maybe someone else out there too. My husband and I have been married for almost 2 years, but together for almost 15. He is my only long real boyfriend I have had in my adult life, and we have 2 children together. We have had a rocky relationship from the beginning, if I'm being honest, but the last 3 years have, for the most part, been pretty great. The turning point for our relationship, I feel, was after he got blackout drunk at his friend's wedding and spent the entire 1.5 drive home that I drove him and his friend home from as I was sober, screaming at me and saying nasty things. Since then, things had been pretty good. I have been working on myself, have lost weight, putting more effort into myself and my appearance, and have been making new friends. About 5 months ago, he woke up one day and told me he wasn't happy with his life or me and wanted to leave. He then decided he was wrong and didn't want to leave. Not to drag it on too much, but a highlight reel of the last 5 months is he has left me 4 or 5 times and comes back every time saying he's sorry. Been unhappy when I have gone for dinner or to see girlfriends. Got blackout drunk again and behaved horrendously towards me. I can't really talk about it on the thread. The same night as above, there was some severe drama with his family. I am also being made to be the villain for telling them this behavior is disgusting, especially since our 2 children were asleep in bed when everything was happening. Called me every name under the sun, often in front of our children. Accused me multiple times of having affairs, with absolutely no suspicions. I didn't realize a few of the things can't be discussed here. His excuses are that he doesn't feel loved enough by me and I'm not affectionate enough. But it's hard to feel affectionate to someone who is treating you like shit. I am getting very little family support and being made to feel guilty for breaking our family up if I don't let him just come back home. But he is never going to change. I guess I'm just looking for some validation and support that I'm making the right decision because I keep being told I'm wrong. And that's where I left off when I first started writing about this. But there's more, so much more, that I feel like I need to say because it paints the full picture of what's happening in my life right now. Let me take you back a little bit. When we first met, we were young. He was charming in that rough, boyish kind of way, immature but exciting. I was drawn to him because he made me laugh and because he had this way of making me feel like I was the only girl in the room. At 17, that feels magical. At 32, it feels more like, well, like maybe I should have known better. Our relationship always had ups and downs. He could be sweet, thoughtful, even romantic in small bursts. But the downs were loud, dramatic, and honestly exhausting. There were nights he'd disappear with friends, come home wasted, and act like I was the enemy for being upset about it, and I kept telling myself he'll grow out of it. And to be fair, he did sort of. The last 3 years felt like a turning point. He seemed calmer, more settled. He spent time with the kids, he was working steadily, and I thought we were finally building the kind of stable home I'd always wanted for us. But then, these last 5 months happened. The first time he left, it was random. One morning he woke up, looked me dead in the eye, and said, "I'm not happy. I don't think I love you anymore. I think I need to leave." I remember my stomach dropping. My heart was racing, but at the same time I felt numb. After 15 years, after 2 kids, after everything, we were just done? Like that? He packed a bag and walked out. No big fight, no screaming, just cold detachment. But then, 2 days later, he came back, crying, saying he made a mistake, saying he couldn't live without us. I wanted to believe him. For the kids, for myself, for the version of us I still held on to, and that set the tone for the months that followed. He'd leave, he'd come back. He'd swear things would change. But the changes never came. If anything, it just got worse. He hated when I went out to dinner with friends. He'd text me nonstop, asking who I was with, accusing me of lying. Sometimes he'd flat out accuse me of cheating, and I swear to you, I have never, not once, been unfaithful. I barely even flirted with anyone in all the years we've been together. And yet somehow, in his mind, I became the villain. The accusations weren't just random either. They were cruel. One night, I had gone out with a couple of girlfriends from work. We literally went to a little Italian place, ate pasta, had one glass of wine each, and then we were home by 9:30. But when I walked through the door, he was sitting on the couch with this dark look in his eyes. "Where were you really?" he asked. I laughed nervously because I thought he was joking. But he wasn't. His face was tight, his jaw clenched. He went on about how he knows when I'm lying, how I've been different lately, how no wife goes out this much without something going on. This much, meaning once a month. I remember saying, "Do you hear yourself right now? I work, I take care of our kids, I do everything in this house, and the one night I go out for dinner, I'm suddenly some kind of cheater?" That conversation spiraled into him, yelling, me crying, and our kids, poor babies, waking up scared because Daddy was screaming again. And the worst part? The next morning, he acted like nothing had happened. Like it was normal. Like we didn't have two little kids who overheard their father calling their mother disgusting names. The drinking, too. I can't even begin to explain what it's like living with someone who doesn't know his limits. The night he got blackout drunk again, I swore I saw the man I used to know. The young version of him, reckless, selfish, cruel when he's drunk. He wasn't just loud, he was cruel. He threw words at me like knives. Things he'd never say sober, but also things I'll never be able to unhear. That night, it wasn't just me who was hurt. His family got involved. Long story short, there was a blowout, screaming, accusations flying, and me being painted as the villain because I dared to say, "This is disgusting. You're a grown man. Your kids are asleep upstairs and this is what you're doing?" And of course, I was told I was overreacting, that I was making a scene. It's insane. It's like no one wants to hold him accountable because it's easier to blame me for not keeping the peace. I want to pause here and explain something important. I am not perfect. I know that. I can be cold sometimes. I'm not the overly affectionate type. I don't smother people with hugs and kisses, even my husband. I grew up in a house where love was shown more through actions than words, and I guess that carried into my adult life. So when he says he doesn't feel loved, I get it in a way. Maybe I could have been better about showing it. But here's the thing. How do you show love and affection to someone who treats you like garbage half the time? How do you kiss the man who screamed at you in front of your kids last week? How do you hold the hand of someone who tells you you're worthless when he's drunk? It's not that I don't love him. It's that every time I start to soften, every time I try to rebuild, he tears it all down again. The guilt is the hardest part. Because every time I try to take a stand, every time I say enough, you can't keep doing this, I can't keep doing this, I get told I'm breaking up the family, that I'm selfish, that I'm robbing my children of their father, and I sit there feeling like the bad guy, when all I want is peace. My own family hasn't been much help either. My mom keeps telling me, marriage is hard. You just need to work through it. Don't throw everything away. But what she doesn't see is the version of him I live with. She sees the charming, funny man he can be in public. She doesn't see the drunk rages, the accusations, the way he looks at me like I'm dirt under his shoe. So I feel alone. Completely alone in this. A few weeks ago, he left again. Packed a bag, stormed out, said he couldn't do this anymore. I didn't stop him. I didn't beg. I just let him go. 2 days later, like clockwork, he was back, crying, saying he couldn't live without me, saying he was sorry. And once I didn't let him in. I stood at the door and told him, "You can't keep doing this. You can't keep leaving and coming back like nothing happened. This isn't fair to me or to the kids." He didn't take it well. He yelled, he cried, he begged. He even tried to guilt trip me by saying, "Do you want our kids to grow up without a father?" And I had to be the one to remind him. They have a father, you. But being here doesn't mean just existing in the house. It means being present, being stable, being safe. And you're not any of those things right now. It was one of the hardest conversations I've ever had, and yet deep down, I know it's the truth. That night, Standing at the door with him begging me to let him back in, I felt something shift inside me. For years, I had always been the one to smooth things over. I was the one who calmed him down, the one who apologized just to stop the fighting, the one who put his needs before my own. But this time, I didn't cave. I saw his tears, his pleading, and instead of feeling pity, I felt exhausted. Utterly drained, he said. I promise this time it'll be different. I swear I'll change. And I looked at him and said, "You've been saying that for 15 years. I don't believe you anymore." The look on his face, shock, anger, disbelief, it was like I had broken some unspoken rule of our relationship, that I was supposed to always forgive, always take him back. He slammed the door on his way out, and I just stood there, leaning against it, shaking. Not because I was scared, but because for the first time in a long time, I had actually stood my ground. And the kids, though. That's where it gets complicated. Our oldest is 7, old enough to notice what's going on. She asked me, "Why does Daddy keep leaving?" How do you answer that? How do you explain to a child that her father can't seem to choose stability over chaos? I told her the simplest version I could. Daddy and I are having some problems right now, but it's not your fault and we both love you very much. She nodded, but I could see the worry in her eyes. Kids know more than we give them credit for. They feel the tension, the raised voices, the slammed doors. My younger one, thank God, is still too little to fully understand. But even he picks up on the mood shifts. He clings to me more on the days when my husband storms out, almost like he knows I'm the steady one, and that kills me. Because kids deserve 2 steady parents, not one trying to hold everything together, while the other crashes in and out like a storm. The cycle is so predictable now. He leaves. He comes back. He swears he's changed. He lasts maybe a week or 2, acting kind, sober, attentive. He'll make dinner, play with the kids, even compliment me, things he rarely does otherwise. And for a brief moment, I start to think, maybe this time it'll stick. But it never sticks. It always unravels. He gets angry over something small. He starts drinking again. The accusations start. The names start. The slammed doors. And we're right back where we were. Living in that cycle is exhausting. It's like I can't even enjoy the good moments because I'm waiting for the crash. I never know which version of him is walking through the door. And I've realized that's not love. That's survival. Financially, it's scary too. I work, but not a huge salary. Enough to cover bills, but not enough to feel secure on my own with 2 kids. He's always been the provider in the traditional sense, but honestly, what good is a provider who brings home money but leaves chaos in every other aspect of life? I've started quietly putting money aside, little bits here and there. I don't even know what my end game is yet, but I feel like I need a safety net. A cushion in case I really do close the door for good. I've also started researching lawyers, custody arrangements, how child support works. Just reading, just learning. But even that makes me feel guilty, like I'm betraying him by planning for a future without him. But then I remind myself, he's the one who betrayed us. Over and over again. 1. Of the hardest things lately has been the manipulation. After I stood firm at the door, he switched tactics. Instead of yelling, he went quiet. He started sending me long, sad texts. Things like, "I don't deserve you, but I can't live without you. Please don't do this to our kids. I know I'm messed up, but you're the only one who can fix me." That last one especially. You're the only one who can fix me. It's taken me years to realize that's not love. That's dependency. That's shifting the burden of his brokenness onto me. And I can't carry it anymore. There was one night recently where he called me in the middle of the night, clearly drunk, crying. He said, "I'm sitting in the car outside. Please, just let me come in. I don't have anywhere else to go." And my heart broke a little. Because as much as I'm angry, as much as I want to move on, I'm not heartless. I don't want him sleeping in his car. But then I thought about the kids asleep upstairs. about how they deserve to wake up to a calm morning, not to daddy stumbling in at 3 a.m., reeking of alcohol and regret. So I didn't let him in, and I lay awake the rest of the night crying into my pillow, because even when I know I'm doing the right thing, it feels wrong. I think that's what makes this so hard. If he were a monster 24/7, it would be easy. If he were abusive every single day, if he never showed kindness, if he didn't have moments of being a good dad, I could walk away without a second thought. But he's not. He can be sweet. He can be funny. He can be the man I fell in love with. And those glimpses make me second-guess myself every single time. It's like holding on to a ghost. The version of him I loved still exists, but only in flashes, and never long enough to build a life on. And I'm starting to realize that flashes aren't enough anymore. After that night when I didn't let him in, the pressure didn't stop. It just shifted. The next morning, my phone started blowing up. Not from him this time, but from his family. His mom, his sister, even his cousin. Messages like, "He's going through a lot, you need to stand by him." Marriage isn't about giving up when it's hard. The kids need both of you under one roof. Not one single message said, "How are you doing?" Not one asked if I was okay. It was all about him, about his feelings, his struggles, his pain. And in that moment, I realized something. They don't actually see me as part of this family. They see me as the caretaker of their broken son, brother, cousin. My role is to keep him functioning, to keep him from collapsing, and I'm so tired of being the glue that holds him together while no one cares if I'm crumbling in the process. But the only thing that's been keeping me sane is my small circle of friends. I didn't always have that, by the way. For years, I isolated myself, partly because he didn't like when I went out, partly because it was easier to just avoid conflict. But in the last year, I've started reconnecting. I made new friends through work, through the kids' school, and honestly, they've been my lifeline. One of my closest friends, let's call her Sarah, looked me in the eye the other day and said, "Do you hear yourself? You're describing emotional abuse. This isn't love. You deserve better." I wanted to argue. I wanted to say, "No, he's not abusive, he's just struggling." But the words stuck in my throat, because deep down, she's right. When someone calls you names, accuses you of things without proof, screams at you in front of your kids, makes you feel guilty for wanting basic peace, what else can you call it? I think I just wasn't ready to use that word yet. Abuse. But then I thought about my daughter. She's 7 now. In a few years, she'll be a teenager. And what is she learning about relationships if I stay in this cycle? That love means forgiving someone no matter how many times they hurt you. That it's okay for a man to scream at you and then cry his way back into your life. That chaos is normal. And my son, what is he learning? That it's acceptable to treat women like this. That he can rage, accuse, manipulate, and still get welcomed home with open arms. That terrifies me more than anything else. Because I don't want my daughter to grow up thinking this is how men should love her. And I don't want my son to grow up thinking this is how men should treat women. That realization hit me like a punch in the gut. If I stay, I'm not just hurting myself. I'm teaching my kids a lesson I never wanted them to learn. A few days ago, he tried a different tactic. Instead of begging or yelling, he showed up with gifts. Flowers for me, toys for the kids. He was smiling, acting like the charming man I first fell in love with. And for a split second, it almost worked. My kids were thrilled. They hugged him, they laughed, they played. And I stood there watching, my heart aching, because I want that version of him. I want the man who shows up with flowers and laughter. But then I remembered that version never lasts. It's a performance, a band-aid over a wound that never heals. And sure enough, 2 nights later, he was drunk again. Texting me things like, "I saw the way you looked at the waiter the other night." The waiter, at a diner, who was at least 60 years old. It's madness. I've been journaling a lot lately. Writing. Things down helps me see the patterns. And the pattern is clear. He leaves, he comes back. He promises, he fails, over and over again. It's not about whether he loves me. I'm sure in his way he does. But love isn't enough. Not when it looks like this. Not when it hurts this much. And I think that's the hardest pill to swallow, because we grow up believing love conquers all. That if you love someone enough, you can get through anything. But the truth is, sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes respect, stability, peace, those matter more, and I don't have those with him. And the other night after the kids went to bed, I sat in the living room by myself and imagined a different future. One where I wake up without dread. One where I know who I'll be coming home to. One where I don't have to brace myself for accusations or drunken rants. And for the first time, that future didn't feel impossible. It felt within reach. Scary, yes. Lonely, yes. But possible. The day I finally called a lawyer, my hands were shaking. It felt like crossing an invisible line. For months, I'd been circling the idea, Googling custody laws at midnight, reading articles about divorce, quietly stashing away a little savings. But actually dialing the number, that made it real. The lawyer was kind, calm, matter of fact. She walked me through what custody could look like, what child support might mean, what steps I'd need to take if I wanted to move forward. And as scary as it was, it also gave me something I hadn't felt in a long time: clarity. For so long, I've been drowning in what ifs. What if he changes? What if I regret it? What if I can't manage alone? But hearing someone lay out practical steps, it made me realize I can manage. Maybe not easily, maybe not without tears, but I can. And that night, I sat down with my mom. I was nervous because she's been one of the voices telling me to work it out. But I needed to try one more time to make her understand. I told her everything, not just the highlights, every detail, the screaming, the accusations, the names he called me in front of the kids, the drinking, the endless cycle of leaving and coming back. By the time I finished, she was quiet. Really quiet. Finally, she said, "I didn't know it was that bad." And I realized that's on me too. I've hidden so much of it. Smiled through family dinners, kept up appearances, pretended everything was fine, because admitting it felt like failure. But telling her the truth lifted something off me. For the first time, I felt like maybe I wasn't so alone. And of course, he didn't make it easy. Almost as if he could sense the shift, he showed up the next day, not drunk this time, sober, calm. He sat down at the kitchen table and said, "I know I've messed up, but I can't lose my family. Just give me one more chance." And God, I wanted to believe him. I wanted to say yes, to go back to that familiar cycle, because breaking it feels like tearing off my own skin. But then I looked at my daughter, who was sitting at the table coloring, listening without listening. And I thought about the future I wanted for her, so I said, "No, we've given this enough chances. I can't do this anymore." His face changed instantly, from soft and pleading to hard and angry. "So that's it? You're just gonna break up our family? You're just gonna throw away 15 years? And I said, quietly but firmly, "I'm not the one throwing it away. You did that every time you chose the bottle, every time you called me names, every time you walked out that door. I'm just finally accepting it." He stormed out, slammed the door so hard the walls shook. But this time, I didn't cry. This time, I felt something else. Resolve. Over the next week, I kept moving forward. Small steps. I met with the lawyer again. I started organizing paperwork. I opened a new bank account. I also sat down with my kids, gently, and explained as best I could. "Mommy and Daddy aren't going to live together anymore. But we both love you so much, and that will never change." My daughter cried. My son just hugged me. It broke my heart. But it also felt like the first honest thing I'd said to them in a long time. Because kids know. They always know when something's wrong. Pretending doesn't protect them. Truth Even when it hurts, does. He tried, of course, to worm his way back in. He texted. He showed up unannounced. He even had his mom call me, begging me to think about the children. But I held firm. For once, I didn't budge. And slowly, something shifted inside me. The guilt that had been eating me alive started to fade. Not completely, but enough to breathe again. Because I realized wanting peace for myself and my children isn't selfish. It's survival. One night, sitting alone in the quiet after the kids went to bed, I let myself imagine the future again, a home filled with calm instead of chaos, laughter that isn't forced between fights, kids who feel safe instead of scared of the next blow-up. Me, rediscovering who I am outside of the endless cycle of fixing someone else. And for the first time, that future didn't just feel possible. It felt close. So that's where I'm at right now. Part of me feels like I already know the answer, but hearing it from you guys would mean a lot. Do you think I should finally close this chapter, or am I being too harsh? Let me know in the comments. And if you've been through something similar, please share your story. I really want to read it. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more, and thank you so much for being here with me. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!